let's talk about some of those mistakes that you're probably gonna make. What's up everybody, I'm Dan and welcome back to Backpacking Adventures, where we talk about everything backpacking, hiking, and gear. And if those interest you, and if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing and make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss a thing. Spring is here, it's warming up, and maybe you're thinking about starting backpacking. Backpacking is a learning experience. It's a journey. You learn about backpacking, you learn about gear, you learn about camping, and most importantly, you learn about yourself. And if you're thinking about getting started, it can be daunting. There's just so much to backpacking, and I know I've been there, and so has pretty much everybody else. We all have to start somewhere. But today I'm gonna go over 5 mistakes that I think are common in the beginning in the hopes that you can avoid them. And I'm telling you, I've made all these mistakes, so hopefully I can help you avoid some frustration, some time, and maybe even some money. Now, let's get into the tips. Now, these are in no particular order, and number 1 on this list is not being smart about your food. Not many people talk about food specifically to beginner backpackers, but it's very important. You're gonna be hiking with weight on your back, up and down over hills. You're gonna be going probably relatively long distance over a prolonged period of time. 2 most common mistakes with food is not taking the food that you like or that you're hungry for, that you're gonna crave, and not taking enough, the quantity of your food. You need to take the right kinds of food for you. You wanna take food that is lightweight, very easy to make, and calorically dense. The foods that you take should be foods that you're gonna like and things that you're gonna eat. And don't go out and buy all these energy bars and different protein bars if it's stuff that you don't normally eat. And this is because when you get on trail and you're hiking and you finally eat that, you may not have the appetite, you may not be hungry for it, or you just might not like it. It just may be horrible for you. And if you don't like it and you're not gonna eat it, it's gonna result in you not having enough calories, protein, fats, carbs, whatever. It can make you sore the next day. You're not gonna recover that night, or at least as well. And to go with foods that you like, the quantity of the food is also important. You can't just look at the amount of food that you eat on any given day and just assume that that's gonna be enough for a backpacking trip in a day. Yes, it may be okay if you're only going for a quick overnighter where you're not going a lot of miles, that might work. But if you're going for a longer duration trip and you're gonna be hiking for a good substantial amount of miles, something that you normally wouldn't do during the day, then yes, it is important. And that's because you're gonna be burning a lot more calories than you normally would on any given day. And take it from someone like me who loves food, don't make this mistake out in the trail. Now, the second one is buy the gear you want. And this may be a little bit controversial. There is a camp of people that will say, if you're new to backpacking, don't spend any amount of money. You go buy cheap gear, you buy the budget gear, and I tend to disagree with that to a point. And I say I disagree with that to a point because everybody has a budget, and yes, you want to stay within your budget and buy the gear that you can afford. So yes, first and foremost, budget is important when buying a gear, so make sure you stick in your budget. And why do I disagree with buying that cheaper gear first? Well, I've done it. I bought gear twice. I went out and bought the cheaper version and then knew that I liked it, and I bought better gear. Yes, it will happen naturally over time as you're backpacking. You're gonna be getting different gear, you're gonna be replacing gear over time as things get older or maybe something better comes out. But I don't necessarily agree with just getting all the cheaper versions first just to see if you like it. So if you think there's a good chance or you're pretty sure that you're gonna continue with backpacking, then don't go buy the cheaper gear first. Just go out and get the gear you want and the gear that you need, that you can afford, because that will prevent you from having to buy gear twice, which ultimately is more expensive and defeats the purpose of buying the cheaper gear first. Maybe the gear you want to buy is expensive. Well, take the time, save up the money to get that good gear. You don't always have to settle for a cheaper version. And if you buy a cheaper version, maybe it won't last long, or you get disappointed with it because it didn't perform like you expected, and you end up having to go buy that other piece of gear anyway. I think in the end, you'll be much happier because you only had to make one purchase and you'll just like the gear better from the get-go, and that may end up making you backpack even more. If you buy the cheaper gear, buy a real cheap sleeping pad, you have a miserable cold night, maybe you'll never go again. But if you buy the right gear, maybe you'll have that right experience. And overall, you'll probably save more money. Number 3, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of crap for this from my other YouTuber friends out there, but it's watching all those YouTube gear videos and trip videos with the expectation that they're always right. This has 2 parts. First, you go out there and you watch a lot of YouTube trip videos. I do, I watch them, I love them. We all watch them. They're fun to watch, and you can learn a lot about the trails before you hike them. But when you're watching them, make sure you keep a few things in mind. Don't watch them and think, wow, that trail looks easy. Or they look like every part of the trip is easy and just wonderful. But it isn't always like that. So you watch those videos and you get out there and your experience is totally different from their experience. You couldn't go as far and it was just more difficult than you expected. There's lots of times, well, it just sucks. Did you ever hear the phrase, embrace the suck? Well, that's because it can suck, really suck. You can be struggling going up hills, it can be raining all day or your entire trip, it can suddenly get cold. There's just a lot of things that happen to you when you're backpacking. It isn't easy all the time, but it's worth it. Those struggles make all those views and vistas and that sweet campsite you find with that really nice view, makes them all worth it. So just make sure that you keep that in mind when you're watching them, when they're hiking a specific trail that you are going to hike on. Second, what works for me as far as gear may not work for you. Basically, you just watch somebody else's gear video, see what they're talking about, and you run out there and buy it. I definitely have done that. Watched a video where someone said they liked a piece of gear and thought, wow, that must be a great piece of gear, I'm gonna go buy it. And now it's just sitting in a box, don't even use it. Now, in some cases, it really could work for you, it could be a good choice, but remember, it's their opinion. Yes, gear videos can be very helpful. They can give you valuable information about a specific piece of gear that maybe you're looking into purchasing. So just remember, it should only be looked at as research. You will learn throughout your backpacking journey that gear is a very personal thing. No 2 backpackers have the exact same gear loadout. You pick your gear because it fulfills a specific purpose to you, or it provides a certain level of comfort to you, or a certain level of safety to you. So make sure you keep that in mind when you're watching all those YouTube videos. 4, worry about weight, but don't worry about weight. And why do I think weight is important? Well, you have to carry your gear on your back mile after mile. And it might not be comfortable with a really heavy backpack. Think about it. Do you think that you will be more comfortable hiking day after day with a backpack that weighs 50 pounds or 20 pounds, given the choice? I'm almost pretty sure you all answered you would take the 20-pound backpack. But you don't want to go overboard with worrying about the weight. When doing your research, you're going to come across something called ultralight. This will either be in reference to ultralight gear or ultralight backpacking. Ultralight gear is just that, very light gear. And ultralight backpacking just simply means that your base weight is below 10 pounds. And what is your base weight? Well, that is the weight of all your gear, including your backpack, on your back, minus fuel, food, water, and anything consumable. And I'm not saying that you have to have the lightest backpack out there or even be ultralight at all. My point is that I feel that weight can make a difference in your comfort. And this is even more so if you're new to backpacking and even hiking and you haven't been out hiking for a while. And I know this through experience. My first backpack was 50 pounds and that was without food or water. That was my base weight, it was 50 pounds. That was for my first backpacking trip and I hiked only 7 miles. I was totally exhausted and I was in pretty good shape back then. And it was just a miserable time. I was so sore. In the beginning, you don't have to be ultralight, and please don't worry and stress about being ultralight. Now, you can if you want to. If you think you're gonna go backpacking a lot and you just wanna go right into the ultralight world, be my guest, go right ahead, that's fine. But don't think that you have to, or that being ultralight is better than not being ultralight. It's just not true. But in the end, buy the gear that's within your budget, carry the gear that you want to carry, and carry what you think is comfortable weight-wise to you. It's your backpacking experience, it's nobody else's. It doesn't matter what they think of what your weight is. Number 5, test and know your gear. Test and learn everything you can about your gear before you even take one step on the trail. Learn how to use it properly. Set your tent up in your yard, take it down, and do that over and over again till you're comfortable that you know how to set it up quickly. Learn how to filter your water. Learn how to use your cook system. You need to know how to use your gear correctly before you leave for your trip. The last thing you want to do is you're out on your trip, you've been hiking all day, it's been pouring down rain, you get to a site, and you don't know how to set up your tent. It takes you forever. Believe me, I've been there, it's miserable. Or even worse, you find out that a piece of gear you just bought is broke, it just doesn't work. Then you're out on the trail and what do? You just have to make do. So again, practice with your gear before you go out. So now, if a beginner backpacker asked you what mistakes to avoid, what would you tell them? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.